Today's lesson is over percents, fractions, and decimals. And the goal of the lesson is that you will be able to compare and convert percents, fractions, and decimals. This should be review. I know that in 6th grade this was like half the year you guys did this. So we're going to review it today in this lesson because it comes in important, really important on the next one. So start with your chart, the chart here. And I want to see what you guys know, what you remember about how to convert this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to convert these. Pause the video if you'd like, or leave it going and fill it in. But we'll do this first, kind of like a self-check, then we'll go over how it was all done. So first one, 3/10. I just did the fraction out loud, 3/10, and that is 30%. Now we have 4/5 for our fraction. Well, 4/5 is the same as 8/10. 8/10, that's a decimal. And 8/10 is 80%. Now we have 76%. We know percent means out of 100. So that is 76 hundredths, which is not in simplest form. So that can work down to 38 fiftieths. Still not simplest form, but 19 25ths is simplest form. And again, 76 hundredths. So the decimal out loud. 22 hundredths. Well, it's a fraction. That's 22 over 100, which works down to 11 fiftieths. And then 22 out of 100, that's 22%. Now we have 5/6. This one gets a little bit tricky. This ends up being a repeating decimal. So it's 0.8333. The 3's repeat. We could say it like this: 83 hundredths with the 3 repeating, and that's going to be 83% where the 3 repeats. Actually, that should be written a little differently. I'm sorry. The decimal part repeats. So there's that. My bad. And the last one, 130%. This means 130 out of 100. We can have that. It's an improper fraction. That becomes 13/10 or 1 3/10. And that 1 3/10, that's our decimal. 1 3/10. So how did I just do all that? Well, converting decimals. To convert a decimal to a fraction, say the decimal out loud properly. Write what you said as a fraction. Simplify it if possible. Decimal to percent. Multiply the decimal by 100, which means move the decimal point 2 places to the right. And do not let weird numbers throw you off. The number can be between 0 and 100. It can have a decimal in it. It can be greater than 100. Same process all the way through. Now, converting fractions. To convert a fraction to a decimal, we did this back in the first unit. Divide the numerator by the denominator. Do not round unless you're asked to. If the number repeats, be sure to use the repeating bar at the appropriate place when you write the final decimal. Fraction to percent. Convert the fraction to a decimal. Then convert the decimal into a percent by multiplying by 100. Or set up and solve a proportion in which the given fraction is the first ratio, the second ratio is set up as some number over 100. So example of this one, we're going to convert 3/4 into a percent. 3 out of 4 equals something out of 100. From here, you guys know what to do. A couple ways of going. 4 times 25 is 100. So you do 3 times 25 to get 75. Or cross multiply and divide. 3 times 100 is 300. 300 divided by 4 is 75. Either way works. Do what you like doing best. Finally, converting percents. Well, to make it a decimal, divide the given percent by 100, which is the same as moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. Percent to fraction. Set up, given percent as a fraction over 100. and simplify it if possible. Again, it's all things that review, hence why I'm going so fast with limited examples. But if you go back, look at the chart from the start of the notes, you can apply some of this. Now here are some examples. We will convert the following fractions to decimals and percents. So you can pause it, do it on your own, or do it with me. So we have 7/8, which means 7 divided by 8. As we learned way back in the first unit, and even before that, set up long division and work the problem through. This goes in 8 times, and that becomes 60. 8 goes into 67 times, 56, and 8 goes into 45 times. So as a decimal, this is 875 thousandths. To make it a percent, all we gotta do, multiply by 100, which means take a decimal point and move it 2 places to the right. So 1, 2 there, 87.5%. Same thing on the right side, 11/20ths. You can do the ever so fun long division. 20 goes in 110, 5 times. Times that is 100. And 5 again. So our decimal is 55 hundredths. With that point twice to the right, our percent is 55%. Now we're going to go from decimals to percents and fractions. So I made a goof on here. This ought to say fractions. So 47 hundredths as a fraction. Literally just 47 hundredths. And so out of 100, that is 47%. 1 and 29 hundredths, again, as a fraction. We just said it. That's 1 and 29 hundredths. As a percent, we just move it 2 places to the right. 129%. And finally, convert the following percents into fractions and decimals. Wow, I am off again on this. I apologize. That should be fraction, and that should be fraction. We know that all percents are out of 100, so 34%, that's 34 hundredths. Just like that. 34 hundredths, like that, which works down to 17 fiftieths. 312%, that's 312 hundredths. So, make it a little bit easier, make it as a fraction first. So 312 out of 100, which we put down to simpler terms than that. It can be 156 out of 50. You know what? Let's make that a mixed number instead. Might be a little bit easier. So that becomes 3 and 12 100ths, which works down to 3 and 6 50ths, which becomes 3 and 3 25ths. Yeah, a lot easier that way. And for our decimal, well, 3 and 3 25ths. We know 3 is 3 and 12 hundredths. Just do it like that. The reason why we're doing this, we're going to have eventually problems like this. Which expressions is or are equivalent to 25% of 150? Because remember, we talked about the word of means multiplication. So really, we're doing 25% times 150. So the first one, look at 1/4. 1/4 is 25%. That's good. 25% is also 25 hundredths. That one's good. 25% is not 25, so it's not that. And then 1/4 times 150, well, doesn't that become 150 divided by 4? So that one works as well. A lot of conversion here. This one, 3/4 of 100. So we're multiplying again. 3/4, well, it's not 75, but it is 75 hundredths. 75% of 100, well, 75%, that's also 3/4. So that works. Definitely not this one. So the equivalent forms are really going to help us out with these types of expressions. We will practice a lot more of the stuff in class. I know we went kind of fast here, but we are good for this lesson.